Thunder cracked across the Georgia sky like bone-breaking. Rain hammered the asphalt of Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. With the fury of something alive and angry, a woman stumbled into the cone of headlights, white business suit drenched crimson, blonde hair plastered across a face twisted in agony. Her right ankle bent at an angle God never intended. She reached toward the light with trembling fingers, mouth-forming words no sound could carry through the storm. Behind her, a black Mercedes SUV rolled to a stop. Three doors opened in unison. Men emerged wearing suits that cost more than most people earned in months. The leader, tall, sharp-featured, wearing confidence like armor, smiled as he watched the woman collapse onto the wet pavement. Beat-up Ford F-150 screeched to a halt 3 feet from her crumpled form. The driver's door flew open before the engine finished shuddering. Marcus Reed hit the ground running. 36 years old, flannel shirt stained with electrical grease and honest sweat, work boots splashing through puddles that reflected the chaos above. His hands, calloused from fixing other people's problems for $38,000 a year, moved with purpose toward the fallen woman. The suited man stepped forward, voice smooth as expensive bourbon. "Walk away, friend. This doesn't concern you." Marcus didn't stop moving. "Lady, can you hear me? Are you okay?" She lifted her head. Blue eyes found his through the rain. Terror lived in those eyes and something else, recognition that this moment would change everything or end everything. Then she fainted. The 3 men advanced. Marcus straightened to his full 6 feet, rain dripping from his close-cropped hair, and something in his stillness made the lead man hesitate. "I said, walk away." "I heard you the first time." 2 bodyguards charged. Marcus moved like water, finding the path of least resistance. Marine Corps training that 20 years couldn't erase. First guard's punch cut through empty air. Marcus's elbow found ribs with precision that came from Paris Island drill instructors who believed in breaking men down to build warriors. The guard went down gasping. Second guard had better instincts, feinted left, came in right. Marcus anticipated, shifted weight, caught the incoming fist, and redirected momentum until the man's own force slammed him face first into wet concrete. He didn't get up. The lead man pulled out his phone, hands shaking with rage barely contained. "I'm calling the police. Assault, battery, I have witnesses." Marcus lifted the unconscious woman with the care of someone who'd carried wounded brothers through Helmand Province. She weighed nothing. Her head lolled against his shoulder. "Call them," Marcus said, voice flat and certain. "Tell them you were hunting an injured woman in the rain. Tell them she was running for her life. See how that works out." He turned toward his truck, small face pressed against the back window. 8 years old, eyes wide with the kind of fear children shouldn't know. The man's voice followed him, sharp with promised violence. "You just signed your death warrant, hero. I know who you are now, where you live. That's your daughter in the truck?" Marcus stopped, turned his head just enough to let the man see his expression. "Finish that sentence. I dare you." Long seconds passed. Rain filled the silence. The man's jaw worked, fury and calculation warring behind his eyes. Finally, he retreated to the Mercedes, bodyguards dragging themselves after him. "Her name is Victoria Sterling," the man called through his window. "CEO of Sterling Technologies. $1.2 billion. When she destroys you, and she will, remember I tried to warn you." The Mercedes peeled out, taillights vanishing into the storm. Marcus carried Victoria to his passenger seat. The little girl had already unlocked the door. "Daddy, you were like a superhero." "Not now, baby girl." He settled Victoria as gently as combat medicine training allowed. She clutched a small designer purse to her chest like a talisman. Her breathing came shallow and quick. Shock setting in. "Hospital?" Marcus asked, though he already knew the answer. Her eyes snapped open, wild with panic. "No, no hospitals. They'll find me there. Please, just anywhere but—" Marcus had seen that look before. Fallujah. A family hiding from militants who'd promised to execute anyone who helped Americans. Same terror, same certainty that the next second might be the last. "My place," and he said. "I was a corpsman, Navy. I can patch you up there." She nodded, then her eyes rolled back, unconscious again. The little girl leaned forward from the back seat, placed one small hand on Victoria's shoulder. Don't be scared, my daddy fixes everything. Marcus cranked the heat to maximum and pulled back onto Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. The digital clock blinked 11:47 p.m. in sickly green light, Friday night becoming Saturday morning. The week he'd worked 72 hours to cover rent and Emma's school supplies was finally ending. Now this, Emma, his daughter, his reason for breathing, his Emily's legacy. Watch the unconscious woman with the intensity children reserve for important moments they sense but can't articulate. Is she the one Mama Emily sent? Marcus's hands tightened on the wheel. Baby girl, we talked about this. But you said Mama watches over us from heaven, and she always knew when we needed help. 3 years. 3 years since the drunk driver, some judge's son with a $1,000 lawyer and a $50 conscience, had turned Emily into a memory. 3 years of Emma asking when someone would fill the space her mother left behind. Sleep, Emma. We'll talk tomorrow. But Emma didn't sleep. She watched Victoria with the focused attention of a child who recognized something adults might miss. Her small fingers traced patterns on the back of Marcus's seat, the same nervous habit Emily had when she was thinking hard about something. Oakwood Terrace apartments emerged from the rain like a structure that had surrendered to entropy decades ago. Cracked concrete steps, peeling paint on doors. A buzzer system President Clinton might have used when he was young. Marcus pulled into the small lot behind the building and killed the engine. We're here. Victoria's eyes fluttered open. She took in the building, 4 stories of working-class survival, and something crossed her face. Not disappointment. Something softer. Surprise, maybe. Or relief at finding a place wealth couldn't reach. This is where you live? 2nd floor. It's not the Ritz, but the heat works. Roof doesn't leak more than once a month. He came around to her something. Her, son, open the door carefully. I'm going to carry you again. Stairs are rough on that ankle. She nodded. This time when he lifted her, she didn't stiffen. Exhaustion was winning its war against fear. Her head rested against his shoulder, trust given from someone who probably hadn't trusted anyone in years. Emma scrambled out after them, clutching both her stuffed rabbit and Victoria's designer purse. I got her bag, Daddy. Good girl, stay close. The stairwell smelled like curry and industrial bleach fighting for dominance. Marcus took the steps slowly, mindful of Victoria's ankle, mindful of how her breathing hitched every time he shifted his weight. Almost there. 2nd floor, 3rd door on the left. Emma was already fishing keys from his pocket like they'd rehearsed this dance 100 times. She unlocked the door with the serious concentration of someone entrusted with important responsibility. Welcome to Casa Reed, Marcus said, attempting lightness he didn't feel. The apartment was exactly 650 square feet of making do with less. Living room flowed into kitchen, 2 small bedrooms, 1 bathroom. But the walls wore Emma's crayon drawings like badges of honor, families holding hands, rainbows that defied physics, flowers with faces that smiled at whoever looked. The furniture had history: couch from Goodwill, coffee table Marcus built from scrap wood, small TV balanced on a milk crate, but it was clean, organized, the kind of place where someone cared even when they had nothing. Victoria's eyes swept the room as Marcus carried her to the couch. He caught her taking in details: the carefully folded blankets, the books on improvised shelves, the framed photo of a beautiful black woman holding a baby Emma. Here we go. Easy now. He settled her onto the couch, propped a pillow behind her back. She winced as her ankles shifted, but bit back any sound. I need to look at your injuries, is that okay? Her hands gripped the couch edge. Yes. Emma, go get the first aid kit. Red box under the bathroom sink. Okay. Emma's footsteps pattered away. Marcus knelt in front of Victoria, voice steady and calm, the tone he'd used with wounded Marines who needed certainty more than sympathy. I'm going to be straight with you. I can stabilize what's broken, clean the cuts, give you something for pain, but I'm not a doctor anymore. If things get worse, infection, excessive swelling, anything, we're going to a hospital. No arguments. Okay. I need you to trust me for the next few minutes. It's going to hurt. I'll go as fast as I can. She met his eyes. I trust you. Those 3 words landed heavier than they should have. Marcus cleared his throat and reached carefully for her right foot. She hissed when he removed the expensive leather heel. Louboutin, he noticed, though he only knew the brand because Emily used to laugh at the price tags in magazines. The ankle was catastrophic, swollen to twice its normal size, deep purple spreading like spilled wine. The angle was wrong by degrees that made his stomach turn. Definitely broken. I'm going to stabilize it, but you really need an x-ray. Later, she managed through gritted teeth. Just make it stop hurting. Emma returned with the red tackle box Marcus had kept stocked since his corpsman days. Gauze, antiseptic, elastic bandages, splint, pain medication. Everything needed to handle what the world threw at you when hospitals weren't an option. He worked quickly, cleaned the head wound first, shallow butterfly bandages sufficient, then turned to the ankle. This would be the test. This is going to hurt. I know. He wrapped the ankle with practiced efficiency, immobilizing it as best he could with the splint and elastic bandages. Victoria bit down on her lower lip so hard it went white, but she didn't make a sound. When he finished, he sat back on his heels. Done. Best I can do without a hospital. Thank you. He stood, went to the kitchen, returned with water and 2 pills. Ibuprofen. It'll help with pain and swelling. She took them gratefully, washing them down in one desperate gulp. Marcus grabbed a clean towel from the bathroom and draped it over her shoulders. She was still damp from the rain, shivering slightly. I'll get you something dry to wear, but first, he paused. When's the last time you ate? Victoria opened her mouth, closed it. Her eyes went distant with the effort of remembering. I don't remember. Right, I'll make you something. You don't have to. I know I don't have to, but you're here, you're hurt, you need food, so I'm making you something. He said it matter-of-factly, like feeding injured strangers at midnight was just another item on an already impossible to-do list. Victoria sat wrapped in the towel, staring at the room around her. The crayon drawings, the worn but clean furniture, the small radio on a shelf, no TV, she realized, just the radio. When had she last been in a place this simple, this honest? Emma climbed onto the couch beside her, careful not to jostle the injured ankle. Does it hurt a lot? A little, Victoria admitted, but your dad made it better. He's really good at fixing things. He fixes lights and stuff for people. But he used to fix people too, in the war. Victoria looked at this 8-year-old with her knowing eyes and her gentle wisdom. He told you about that? Some. He doesn't like to talk about it much. Emma hugged her stuffed rabbit closer. But sometimes he has bad dreams, and I hear him. Something in Victoria's chest tightened, a feeling she couldn't name but recognized as grief for things lost before they could be found. What's your name? Emma asked. Victoria. That's pretty, like a princess name. Victoria let out a sound between laugh and sob. No, sweetheart, I'm not a princess. But you have fancy clothes, and that man in the suit said you're important. Being important doesn't make you a princess. It just makes you busy, and sometimes very, very lonely. Emma considered this with the seriousness children bring to adult truths. Then you can hold Mr. Whiskers if you want. He helps when I'm sad. She held out the worn stuffed rabbit. Victoria's throat went tight. She took the toy like it was made of glass and memories. Thank you. From the kitchen came the sound of something sizzling. A few minutes later, Marcus emerged with a plate. Scrambled eggs, toast, sliced apple. Nothing fancy. Food that loved you back through its simplicity. Nothing fancy, but it's hot and it's real. He set it on the coffee table. Victoria stared at the plate. When was the last time someone had cooked for her? Not a chef she paid, not a caterer at some function. Actually stood in a kitchen and made her something to eat because they cared. She couldn't remember. Eat, you'll feel better. She picked up the fork with trembling hands and took a bite. It was the best thing she'd ever tasted. Not because of seasoning or technique, because it was kindness on a plate. She ate slowly, and with every bite, something inside her began to crack open. Walls she'd built over 34 years started developing fissures. The tears came without warning. Silent, steady, spilling onto the plate, Marcus noticed immediately. Did I hurt you when I wrapped your ankle? No. She shook her head, unable to stop crying. No, you didn't hurt me. Then what? I'm just... Her voice broke. I'm not used to this. Used to what? Being cared for. People doing things without wanting something back. Without an agenda. Without... She couldn't finish. The words drowned in tears she hadn't let fall in years, maybe decades. Marcus grabbed the towel and gently dabbed at her cheeks. Hey, it's okay. You're safe here. Nobody's going to hurt you, not tonight. Emma scooted closer and wrapped small arms around Victoria's waist. Don't cry, please don't cry. Victoria looked down at this child, then up at Marcus standing there with the grease stains on his shirt and concern in his eyes. She thought about her penthouse, 3,000 square feet of marble and glass overlooking the city. Custom furniture. Chef's kitchen never used. A home that had never once felt like this. Warm, real, safe. Thank you, she whispered, voice raw from emotion she'd been taught to bury. Thank you for stopping, for fighting for me, for bringing me here. You didn't have to do any of that. Marcus crouched down so they were at eye level. Yeah, I did. Later, after Victoria had finished eating, and Emma had been tucked into bed with promises that everything would be okay in the morning, Marcus brought out old clothes, sweatpants and a t-shirt that had belonged to Emily. He didn't say whose they were. Didn't need to. Bathroom's on the left. Take your time. Yell if you need help. Victoria limped to the bathroom, leaning heavily on the wall. When she closed the door behind her and looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. Mascara streaked down her face in war paint patterns, hair tangled and wild, the butterfly bandages stark white against pale skin. She looked broken, but for the first time in years, she also looked real. She changed into the borrowed clothes, too big, soft from years of washing, carrying the scent of laundry detergent and something else. Hope, maybe. Or just the smell of a home where people loved each other. When she came back out, Marcus had made up the couch with blankets and a pillow. You take the couch tonight. I'll be in the chair if you need anything. I can't take your bed. You're not. Emma's got the bedroom. I sleep out here most nights anyway. He gestured to the worn recliner in the corner. Old habit from the service. Light sleeper. Easier to hear if something's wrong. Victoria lowered herself onto the couch, exhaustion finally winning its long battle. Marcus turned off the overhead light, leaving just a small lamp in the corner. Good night, Victoria. Good night, Marcus. She lay there in the darkness, listening to the sounds of the apartment, the hum of the refrigerator, distant sirens outside, Marcus's steady breathing from the chair. And for the first time in months, maybe years, she felt something she'd almost forgotten existed. Hope. The smell of coffee and something sweet baking pulled Victoria from sleep she didn't remember falling into. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then the pain in her ankle reminded her with enthusiastic clarity. Morning light filtered through thin curtains. The apartment looked different in daylight. Smaller, yes, but warmer somehow. The crayon drawings on the walls seemed brighter, more alive, like they were trying to tell stories to anyone who'd listen. Morning? Marcus stood in the kitchen doorway, dish towel over his shoulder. He looked tired, the kind of tired that came from not sleeping because you were watching over someone who needed watching over. Morning, how's the ankle? Hurts, she admitted, but better than last night. Good, that's good. He moved to the stove. I've got coffee going, and Emma insisted on making muffins. From the kitchen came a small voice. I heard that. I'm very good at muffins. Despite everything, the pain, the fear, the fact that her life had exploded exactly 72 hours ago, Victoria smiled. Marcus brought her coffee, black, strong, the kind that announced its intentions. Then a plate with a slightly lopsided blueberry muffin. Fair warning, they're edible, mostly. Emma bounded in behind him, flour dusting her nose like war paint. I made them myself. Well, Daddy helped with the oven part because he says 8 is too young for fire, but I did the mixing. They look wonderful, Victoria said and meant it. Emma beamed and settled on the floor with her own muffin, immediately pulling out a box of crayons and fresh paper. She drew with the focused intensity of someone creating something important. Marcus sat on the coffee table across from Victoria, hands wrapped around his own mug. For a moment, they ate in comfortable silence. Then he spoke, voice careful as someone approaching a spooked animal. Look, I know it's not my business, but if someone's looking for you, if you're in danger, I need to know what we're dealing with. For Emma's sake, if nothing else. Victoria set down her mug. Her hands trembled slightly. You're right. You deserve to know. She took a breath, gathering courage from somewhere deep. The man from last night, his name is Christopher Kane. He's my fiancé, or he was supposed to be. Marcus's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes sharpened. The guy who tried to drag you into his car. Yes, Victoria's voice was barely above a whisper. 3 days ago, I found emails on his phone by accident. I wasn't snooping. I just... She stopped, shook her head. It doesn't matter how I found them. What matters is what I saw. Plans, contracts, communications with 5 members of my company's board, a scheme to force me out and take over Sterling Technologies. Marcus leaned forward. They were going to steal your company. Not steal, that would be too obvious. They were going to use the marriage, have me sign over controlling interest as part of our unified business strategy. Christopher would become CEO. I'd be relegated to, I don't know, a figurehead, a trophy wife collecting dividend checks. She laughed bitter and broken. 3 years I thought he loved me. 3 years of planning our wedding. Of believing someone finally saw me as more than my father's daughter or the sterling fortune. You're not stupid for trusting someone. I should have known better. Victoria's hands clenched into fists. My father warned me before he died. He said, be careful who you let close. In our world, everyone wants something. Emma looked up from her drawing. What happened 3 days ago, after you found the emails? Both adults turned to stare at this 8-year-old who asked questions that cut straight to the heart of things. Victoria's voice went flat, clinical, like she was describing something that happened to someone else. I took pictures, 6 pages of the most damning documents. Then Christopher came home and found me with his phone. Pause. He knew immediately what I'd seen. Didn't even try to deny it, just smiled. Said it didn't matter because I was going to sign the papers anyway. Good that you said no, Marcus said quietly. The next day he called an emergency board meeting, told me it was about quarterly projections. But when I walked in, all 12 members were there, and Christopher had the transfer documents ready. Her voice started to shake. He said I could sign them voluntarily or they'd remove me by force, declare me mentally unfit, whatever it took. Jesus. I refused, stood up to leave. And Christopher, she touched her forehead where the butterfly bandages were. He grabbed my arm, pulled me back. I tried to break free and I tripped. Fell down the conference room stairs, 10 marble steps. I felt my ankle snap on the 3rd one. Marcus's jaw clenched so hard a muscle jumped. Emma had stopped drawing, eyes wide and shining with unshed tears. The board just stood there, watching. Not one person helped me. Victoria's eyes were distant now, reliving it. Christopher came down the stairs and stood over me. He said, sign the papers, or I'll make sure you never walk out of this building. But you did walk out. I crawled, Victoria continued, voice mechanical, to the back exit, service entrance. I don't know how long it took. Every movement was... She stopped, swallowed hard. I made it outside, into an alley, but I couldn't go any further. And then Christopher and his security found me. She looked at Marcus. And then you found me. The room was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of Saturday morning traffic. Marcus's knuckles were white around his coffee mug. Those photos you took, he said finally. Do you still have them? Victoria reached for her purse, the one Emma had carried in last night. With shaking hands, she pulled out her phone. Cracked screen, but it still worked. 6 pictures. It's not everything, but it's enough to prove conspiracy. Marcus stared at the phone for a long moment. We need more. Victoria blinked. What? 6 pictures isn't enough to take down a whole conspiracy, but it's a start. If we can get into your company's servers, pull the full communications, the contracts, the money trails, that's enough. I can't just walk into my own building. Christopher has security. No, but you can access it remotely, right? You're still CEO. You still have credentials. Victoria's mind started turning. The system uses two-factor authentication. I'd need a secure connection, a computer they can't trace. I got a laptop. It's old, but it works. It's not that simple. The security protocols. Then we find someone who knows how to get around them. Marcus leaned forward. Look, I know a guy, Dev. We serve together. He does cybersecurity now, freelance. If anyone can help us get that information safely, it's him. Victoria stared at him. Why are you doing this? Doing what? This. She gestured around. You already saved my life. You've given me shelter, food, medical care. You don't owe me anything. You don't even know me, so why are you helping me fight this fight? Marcus set down his mug. When he spoke, his voice was quiet but firm as bedrock. You remember when I said I was a corpsman? Victoria nodded. There was a fire 3 years ago. Small house in East Atlanta. I was first on scene, was working as an EMT then. His eyes went distant. I heard screaming. A woman. She was trapped in the upstairs bedroom. Fire was spreading fast. Emma had gone very still, like she knew this story, but it still hurt to hear. I went in, found her, carried her out. Marcus's voice was flat now, emotionless. But by the time I got her to the ambulance, she'd inhaled too much smoke. She died on the way to the hospital. Marcus, I'm so sorry. Her name was Mrs. Patterson. 72 years old, lived alone. No family. He looked up, met Victoria's eyes. The fire was ruled arson. Her landlord wanted her out so he could sell the building. He paid someone to torch it. Victoria's breath caught. The landlord had money, good lawyers. Case got buried. He walked away. Marcus's hands clenched. I couldn't save her, and I couldn't get her justice. That's something I have to live with every day. He leaned forward. But you're here, you're alive, and you've got evidence, so yeah, I'm gonna help you. Because maybe this time the person with power doesn't get to just walk away. The silence that followed was heavy with understanding and unspoken promises. Then Emma spoke up, voice small but determined. My daddy is a hero, even when he doesn't think he is. Victoria looked at this child, then back at Marcus. Something in her chest, something that had been locked tight for years, began to crack open wider. Okay, she said, let's do it. Let's get the evidence. Marcus nodded once. I'll call Dev, set up a meeting. It could take days, maybe weeks. And Christopher will be looking for me. Then you stay here, off the grid. We work fast and we work smart. Victoria felt tears prickling at her eyes again. I don't know how to thank you. Don't thank me yet. We haven't won anything. Marcus stood, grabbed his phone from the counter. But we're going to Trondheim. He stepped into the kitchen to make the call. Emma scooted closer to Victoria, holding up her drawing. It was a picture of 3 stick figures, one tall with dark skin, one small with pigtails, one with yellow hair. This is us, Emma said simply. Victoria took the drawing with trembling hands. The 3 figures were holding hands, standing in front of a small house with a bright sun overhead. It's beautiful. You can keep it to remember that you're not alone anymore. That's when Victoria finally broke. She pulled Emma into a hug and cried. Really cried for the first time since her mother died 22 years ago. She cried for the girl she used to be, who loved to paint and dream. She cried for the woman she'd become, who'd forgotten how to feel anything but ambition. And she cried for the possibility, fragile and terrifying, that maybe, just maybe, she could become someone new, someone real, someone who belonged. From the kitchen, Marcus's voice drifted out as he spoke into his phone. Dev? Yeah, it's Marcus. I need your help with something. It's complicated. Can you come by today? Good. Apartment 2B, Oakwood Terrace. And Dev, bring your best equipment. We're going to war. At exactly 2 p.m., there was a knock on the door. Marcus checked the peephole, relaxed, opened it. The man who entered was black, mid-30s, with an easy smile and a prosthetic right leg visible below his jeans. He carried a laptop bag that looked like it had survived several wars and probably had. Marcus Reed, been too long, brother. They clasped hands, pulled into a brief hug that spoke of bonds forged in places where survival wasn't guaranteed. Too long, Dev. This is Victoria Sterling. Victoria, meet Devin Brooks, best hacker the Marine Corps ever produced. Dev's eyes went to Victoria with immediate recognition and assessment. Ma'am, I'm Dev, Marine Corps Intelligence, retired. He nodded at his leg. IED, outside Helmand Province, 2017. Took my leg, left me with useful skills and trust issues. I'm sorry about your leg. Don't be, I'm alive. And I can still do what I do better than anyone. He set his laptop bag on the coffee table, pulled out equipment that looked like it belonged in a spy thriller. Now let's see about getting you some justice. Emma appeared with juice boxes. Would you like something to drink? Dev's tough guy expression melted. Well, hello there, young lady. Yes, I would love a juice box. He took it solemnly, like she'd offered him expensive wine. Marcus pulled up chairs. Dev set up his laptop, 3 monitors somehow fitting on the small coffee table, cables snaking everywhere, the blue glow of screens reflecting off his focused face. Okay, Miss Sterling, I'm going to need your credentials. Username, password, anything that can get me into Sterling Technologies servers. Victoria rattled off usernames and passwords, while Dev's fingers flew across the keyboard with the speed of someone who thought in binary. All right, I'm in the system, but his expression shifted. They've changed security protocols recently, trying to lock you out. Can you bypass it? Dev scoffed. Lady, I cracked Taliban encrypted communications in real time while taking fire. Corporate firewalls are child's play. More typing. Green text scrolled across screens faster than human eyes could follow. There we go. I'm past the first layer. Now for the fun part, finding where they hid the bodies. Victoria leaned forward, watching Dev navigate through digital architecture she'd never understood. Marcus stood behind them, one hand on Victoria's shoulder, support without pressure. Here we go, Dev muttered. Email servers. Let's see what Christopher and friends have been saying when they thought nobody was listening. He pulled up the first email. Christopher to Richard Townsend. October 15th, 2 years ago. Dev read aloud. Engagement secured. Victoria agreed to marry me. Once married, we'll have her sign transfer documents. She trusts me completely. The fool. The words hung in the air like smoke from a fire nobody could put out. Victoria's hands shook. Marcus's grip on her shoulder tightened. There's more, Dev said quietly. A lot more. He clicked through email after email, plans stretching back 3 years, offshore accounts, shell companies, forged contracts, board members coordinating. Christopher orchestrating everything with the precision of someone who'd been planning this since before he proposed. $47 million, Dev said, voice grim. That's what I'm seeing transferred to Cayman Islands accounts over the past 3 years. Embezzlement doesn't even begin to cover this. This is systematic corporate theft. Victoria felt nauseous. 3 years. He'd been lying for 3 years. Every kiss, every promise, every moment she'd believed she was loved. And all of it calculated manipulation. Wait, Dev said. There's audio files too, recorded board meetings. He clicked. Christopher's voice filled the small apartment. She fell down the stairs? Perfect. Tell everyone she was having a breakdown. Get her to a hospital. Medicate her. Have her sign the documents while she's sedated. By Monday, this is done. Emma stopped drawing, eyes wide. Marcus's other hand clenched into a fist. Dev kept digging. Security footage. From your server room. Timestamp is 3 days ago, right after you disappeared. The video showed Christopher and Richard Townsend physically removing hard drives from servers. Christopher's face was clear, determined, showing no conscience at all. That's destruction of evidence, Marcus said. That's conspiracy, fraud, embezzlement, assault, and about 6 other felonies I can think of off the top of my head. Dev looked at Victoria. Ma'am, this is enough to put him away for 20 years, maybe more. Victoria stared at the screens, evidence of her destroyed life glowing in blue and green. She should feel triumphant. She had proof. She had everything she needed, but all she felt was tired. How long will it take to get everything? Marcus asked. To download the full email chains, bank records, contracts, everything? 48 hours, maybe 72 if I'm being thorough, and I'm always thorough. Christopher said he's coming for me, Victoria said quietly. Dev's expression hardened. Then we work fast. And Marcus, you might want to call Grace. Already planning on it. Who's Grace? Victoria asked. Marcus smiled slightly. Someone who eats corporate criminals for breakfast. The knock came 30 minutes later, sharp, professional, the kind of knock that announced competence before the door even opened. Marcus checked the peephole and his expression shifted to something like relief mixed with military respect. The woman who entered commanded attention without demanding it. Captain Grace Morrison stood 5'8" in heels that added authority to capability. Navy suit cut to business standards. Hair cropped close in a style that said she'd stopped caring what civilians thought about military women years ago. 47 years old with eyes that had seen the worst humanity offered and decided to fight it anyway. Marcus Reed. Her voice carried the warmth of old friendship tempered by current crisis. When you call saying you need help, I know it's serious. Grace Morrison. Marcus stepped aside. Thanks for coming. She walked in, assessed the situation in under 3 seconds. Injured woman on couch, child with crayons, tech expert surrounded by equipment, tension thick enough to cut with the K-bar knife she probably still carried somewhere. Her eyes found Victoria. You must be Miss Sterling. I'm Grace Morrison, former JAG Corps, 22 years. Now I practice corporate law with a specialty in taking down people who think money makes them untouchable. Victoria struggled to stand. Grace waved her down. Stay seated. That ankle looks like it's been through enough. She set her briefcase on the table, pulled up a chair, and opened it with the efficiency of someone who'd prepared cases in war zones. Documents emerged, forms, precedents, legal frameworks that would make sense to lawyers and look like alphabet soup to everyone else. Marcus gave me the basics over the phone. CEO, embezzlement conspiracy, attempted murder via convenient accident, forced commitment threat, classic corporate coup with a violence twist. She looked at Dev. What have we got? Dev turned one of his monitors. 647 emails spanning 3 years. 23 forged contracts. Audio recordings from 4 separate board meetings. Bank records showing systematic transfers totaling $47 million to offshore accounts. And security footage showing physical destruction of evidence. Grace's eyebrows rose fractionally. The closest thing to surprise her face would show. That's not a case, that's a prosecution's wet dream. Can we use it? Victoria asked, voice small. Can we use it? Miss Sterling, this is enough to put Christopher Kane and everyone who helped him away for 2 decades. Maybe more if the FBI decides to make an example. Grace pulled out a legal pad, started writing in shorthand that moved faster than most people think. Here's what we do. 3-step process. Clean, fast, simultaneous. She ticked off fingers. Step 1. Dev gets every bite of evidence. Every email, every transaction, every recorded conversation. We need the complete picture, not just the highlights. Dev nodded. 72 hours, maximum. Step 2, I draft criminal complaints. Fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy to commit fraud, assault with intent to cause great bodily harm, destruction of evidence, attempted unlawful commitment. We file with the SEC, FBI, and Georgia Attorney General simultaneously. Why simultaneously? Victoria asked. Because the moment one agency knows, Christopher's lawyers start working. But if all 3 agencies get identical evidence packets at the same moment, nobody can suppress it. The horse isn't just out of the barn's on fire and the horse is testifying before Congress. Marcus almost smiled. Step 3, we release to the press the exact same moment we file. Wall Street Journal. Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Every major outlet gets the full story with supporting documents, not summaries. This actual evidence. Grace looked at Victoria directly. By the time Christopher Kane realizes what's happening, he'll be in handcuffs. His lawyers won't have time to file motions. His money won't buy him advance warning. We hit him from every direction at once, and we don't stop hitting until he's in a cell. Victoria felt something loosen in her chest. Not hope exactly, something more solid. The possibility of justice. How long? If Dev delivers evidence in 72 hours, I can have everything drafted and ready to file within 6 hours. That's 78 hours from now, 3 1/4 days. Christopher won't wait that long, Victoria said. Then we make sure he doesn't find you. Grace closed her briefcase with a decisive snap. You stay here, off-grid. No phone calls to anyone from your old life. No credit cards. No electronic footprint whatsoever. You effectively don't exist for the next 3 days. Emma had been listening to everything with the focused attention of children who understand more than adults give them credit for. Now she spoke up. Mama V can stay in my room. I'll stay with Daddy. 4 adults turned to look at her. Mama V? Grace's eyebrow rose again. Emma nodded seriously. She's my bonus mom now. Right, Mama V? Victoria's throat closed. She managed a nod. Grace's expression softened microscopically. Probably the closest thing to sentiment she'd allowed during a tactical planning session. Well then, that settles the accommodation question. She stood, offering her hand to Victoria. Miss Sterling, I've taken down war criminals who thought they were untouchable. Corporate embezzlers are amateurs by comparison. You're going to be fine. Victoria shook her hand, feeling the strength in that grip. Thank you. Thank me when Christopher Kane is measuring a cell. Grace turned to Marcus. Walk me out? They stepped into the hallway. Through the crack in the door, Victoria could hear their low conversation. She getting to hold up? Grace's voice quiet. She's stronger than she knows. Marcus. She crawled out of that building with a broken ankle. She'll make it 3 more days. And you ready for what happens when Kane figures out where she is? Pause. I've faced worse. I know you have, but you weren't protecting your daughter then. Longer pause. Emma's the reason I'll win. Grace's voice went softer. Emily would be proud of you, what you're doing here. Emily would tell me I'm an idiot for getting involved. She'd be wrong. This is exactly the kind of thing she loved about you, that you couldn't walk past someone who needed help. They came back inside. Grace nodded to the room. 78 hours. Stay invisible. Stay safe. I'll be in touch. She left the way she'd arrived, competent, professional, carrying the weight of other people's crises like it was just another day at an office that happened to dispense justice. Dev packed up his equipment. I'm going to work from my place. More secure, less visible. I'll check in every 12 hours with progress updates. He looked at Victoria. Miss Sterling, I'm going to need any additional access codes you can remember. Anything that might get me deeper into the system. Victoria rattled off numbers and passwords she'd memorized but never really thought about. Dev recorded everything on an encrypted drive that he immediately disconnected from any network. 72 hours, he said. Then we end this. After he left, the apartment felt suddenly very small and very quiet. Emma had gone back to drawing. Marcus was in the kitchen, moving around with the purposeful efficiency of someone who cooked to think. Victoria sat on the couch, ankle throbbing, mind racing. 78 hours. Just over 3 days. She could do 3 days. She'd survived 3 years with Christopher. Surely she could manage 3 more days. Her phone buzzed. Another text from Christopher. The walls are closing in, Victoria. You can run, but you can't hide forever. And when I find you, your new friends will learn what happens to people who interfere in my business. Marcus appeared with sandwiches. He's texting again? Victoria showed him the message. His jaw set. Psychological warfare. He's trying to make you panic and make mistakes. It's working. That's because you're smart enough to understand the stakes. He handed her a plate. But understanding danger isn't the same as letting it control you. Eat. Keep your strength up. They ate in companionable silence. Emma joined them, carrying her latest drawing, another family portrait, but this one included Mr. Whiskers, the rabbit, and what appeared to be a very large dog. We don't have a dog, Marcus observed. Not yet, Emma said with the confidence of someone who knew the universe bent toward her will eventually. But when Mama V stays forever, we'll need a dog. For protection and love. Victoria found herself smiling despite everything. What kind of dog? A big one, like a German shepherd. Daddy says they're loyal and smart and good at protecting families. Marcus looked caught between amusement and exasperation. I said that about military dogs, not pets. Same thing, Emma declared with 8-year-old logic that didn't allow for nuance. The afternoon drifted into evening. Marcus had to leave for a few hours. Emergency call from his dispatcher about an electrical fire at a restaurant downtown. Someone had to go, and Marcus needed the overtime money. "I'll be back by 9, he told Victoria. "Emma knows where everything is. Mrs. Chen next door has my number if there's an emergency." "We'll be fine," Victoria said, more confidently than she felt. After Marcus left, Emma showed Victoria her room. A small space dominated by a twin bed, shelves made from cinder blocks and boards, and approximately 7,000 drawings taped to every available wall surface. "This is my gallery," Emma explained. "Daddy says every artist needs a gallery." Victoria walked slowly around the room, examining each drawing. Families, rainbows, flowers, animals that defied zoological classification. And underneath it all, a recurring theme: 3 figures holding hands. "You draw families a lot," Victoria observed. Emma nodded seriously. "Because family is the most important thing. Mama Emily said that before she died. She said, 'Emma, baby, families are what make life worth living. Take care of your daddy and make sure he takes care of himself.'" That's a big responsibility for someone so young. "I'm 8. That's practically grown up." Emma pulled out fresh paper and her crayon box. "Want to draw with me?" Victoria hesitated. "I haven't drawn anything in 20 years. "Why not?" The question was so simple, it cut like a scalpel. Why not? Because her father had told her art was frivolous. Because business school didn't leave time for creativity. Because somewhere along the way, she decided that being successful meant giving up everything that made her human. "I forgot how," Victoria said quietly. "That's okay. I'll teach you." Emma patted the floor next to her. "Come on. Drawing is easy. You just put what's in your heart on the paper." Victoria lowered herself carefully to the floor, ankle protesting. Emma handed her a blue crayon. "Draw whatever you want. No rules, just feelings." Victoria stared at the blank paper. Her hand trembled as she pressed crayon to surface. The first line was hesitant, uncertain. But something about the simple act of making marks unlocked something she'd buried for 2 decades. She drew a garden, flowers blooming wild and free, a woman standing in the center with her face lifted toward the sun, and at the woman's feet, a small girl holding a paintbrush. When she finished, Emma studied it with the serious expression of an art critic. "Who is that?" "My mother," Victoria said, voice thick, "before she died, when she was still happy." "And the little girl?" "Me, the me I could have been." Emma touched the drawing gently. "You can still be her. She's still inside you. You just have to let her out." Victoria stared at this 8-year-old who somehow understood things that had taken Victoria 34 years to even begin to grasp. "How did you get so wise?" "Mama Emily, she said wisdom isn't about knowing everything. It's about paying attention to what matters." Emma started her own drawing. "And what matters is love and family and being brave enough to be who you really are." They drew together until Emma's eyes started drooping. Victoria helped her get ready for bed, something she'd never done before. This ritual of pajamas and toothbrushing and tucking someone in with the kind of care that said you'd die before you'd let anything hurt them. "Mama V?" Emma's voice was sleepy. "Yes, sweetheart. I'm glad you fell down in front of Daddy's truck." Victoria smoothed hair back from Emma's forehead. "Me too, baby. Me too." She turned off the light and limped back to the living room. Her phone showed 8:47 p.m. Marcus would be home soon. She should try to sleep, but her mind wouldn't stop racing. She found herself looking at the framed photo on the wall. Emily Reed, beautiful, smiling, holding baby Emma with the kind of joy that made you believe in goodness. "I'm trying to be worthy of them," Victoria whispered to the photograph. "Your family. I'm trying so hard." The door opened. Marcus came in looking exhausted, carrying the smell of smoke and electrical fire. He stopped when he saw her standing there in his living room wearing his dead wife's clothes, looking at Emily's picture. "Sorry," Victoria said quickly. "I was just—" "It's okay." Marcus set down his work bag. "She'd like you, I think. Emily always said you could tell a person's character by how they treated children and people who couldn't do anything for them." "Emma is extraordinary." "She is." Pride and grief mixed in his voice. "Gets that from her mother. Emily was a first-grade teacher. She believed in the goodness of people, even when they disappointed her." How did you meet? Marcus smiled slightly, memory softening his features. Recruitment office, 2011. I was signing up for the Marines. She was there protesting the war, handing out pamphlets about peace. That must have been awkward. She called me a tool of American imperialism. I told her someone had to keep idealists like her safe while they protested. He moved to the kitchen, started making tea. We argued for an hour. She wouldn't back down, wouldn't let me off easy, made me think about things I'd never questioned. But you still joined. I did, and she wrote me letters every week for 4 years. Letters full of news from home and philosophical arguments about the nature of service and pictures of the life she was building. His voice went soft. By the time I came home, I knew I was going to marry her. Victoria felt privileged to hear this story, like Marcus was giving her a piece of something precious. She sounds amazing. She was. He brought 2 cups of tea to the living room. The drunk driver who killed her got 6 months in county jail. His father was Judge Morrison, different Morrison than Grace. Had connections, money, the kind of lawyer who makes vehicular manslaughter sound like an unfortunate accident. His hands shook slightly, holding the cup. That's when I learned that justice isn't blind. It's just for sale to whoever can afford the best attorney. I'm so sorry. So am I. He met her eyes. But I learned something from it. Rich people get away with destroying lives because poor people can't fight back. They don't have lawyers or money or connections. They just have grief and anger and the certain knowledge that the system doesn't work for them. Understanding clicked into place. That's why you're helping me. That's part of it. He set down his tea. But there's more. You're not like them, the people with money who think it makes them better. You said please, you said thank you. You held my daughter like she mattered. And when you looked at this apartment, you didn't see poverty. You saw home. Something shifted in the air between them. The space felt smaller, more charged. Marcus, you should get some sleep, he said quickly. Big day tomorrow. Dev's sending his first evidence packet. We need to review it, make sure we haven't missed anything. Victoria recognized the retreat for what it was, self-protection from a man who'd already lost someone he loved and wasn't ready to risk that kind of pain again. Good night, Marcus. Good night, Victoria. She lay on the couch for a long time, listening to him settle into the recliner, listening to his breathing even out into something that might have been sleep but probably wasn't. Her ankle throbbed, her heart throbbed. Everything hurt in ways that felt like healing and breaking simultaneously. The next morning arrived with the smell of burning pancakes. Victoria woke to Emma's voice explaining very seriously to Marcus that she'd wanted to surprise Mama V with breakfast in bed, but the stove had different ideas. I'm a visual artist, not a culinary one, Emma declared while Marcus opened windows to clear smoke. Victoria limped into the kitchen. Did I hear something about breakfast? Emma's face lit up. Mama V, you're awake. I tried to make you pancakes, but they caught on fire. Just a little fire. Very small, barely dangerous. Marcus held up a charred disc that might have once been breakfast. We're starting over. Emma's going to supervise this time instead of execute. They made pancakes together, Marcus cooking while Emma and Victoria mixed batter and argued about whether chocolate chips counted as a breakfast food or dessert masquerading as morning nutrition. Victoria found herself laughing, really laughing, in a way she couldn't remember doing since she was Emma's age. This was what she'd been missing. Not the pancakes or the laughter specifically, but the feeling of being part of something that didn't require her to be anyone except herself. Dev's email arrived at 10:15 a.m. Marcus opened it on his laptop while Victoria and Emma watched. First evidence packet, Dev's message read. 647 emails sorted by date and participant. I've highlighted the most damning ones. Also included full bank records for all offshore accounts, wire transfer receipts, and audio transcripts from the 4 recorded board meetings. Security footage is rendering now, should have that by tonight. Grace, I'm copying you so you can start on the legal documents. Marcus, keep our girls safe. This is about to get very interesting. Marcus opened the files, email after email appeared, each one another nail in Christopher Kane's coffin. October 2020, Christopher to Richard Townsend. Engagement ring purchased, $450K, tax deductible as business expense once we merge companies. She thinks it's about love. Poor fool. March 2022, Christopher to board. Transfer protocols in place. Once married, Victoria signs documents giving me controlling interest. She'll think it's romantic, sharing everything. Really, it's just legal theft. August 2023, Christopher to Jennifer Marks. If Victoria discovers the embezzlement, we move to Plan B. Dr. Harrison will declare her mentally incompetent. Commitment proceedings take 72 hours. By the time she's released, paperwork will be signed and company will be mine. Victoria read each email, feeling like she was watching her life from outside her own body. 3 years of manipulation. 3 years of a man pretending to love her while systematically destroying everything her father had built. He really did plan everything, she whispered. Marcus's hand found her shoulder, which means we can prove everything. No ambiguity, no he said, she said, just evidence that even the best lawyer can't spin. The audio files were worse. Christopher's voice filled the apartment, casual and cruel. She's becoming difficult, asking questions about the Cayman accounts. We need to accelerate the timeline. The stairs worked perfectly. Everyone saw her fall. Everyone will testify she was unstable, paranoid, having a breakdown. Once she's medicated and committed, I'll visit her in the facility. Bring flowers. Play the concerned fiancé. She'll sign anything I put in front of her just to make it stop. Emma had stopped drawing. Her small face was serious. He's a bad man. Yes, sweetheart, Marcus said. He is. But you're going to stop him. We're going to trade day. Victoria's phone buzzed. Text from Christopher. Day 3, Victoria. I know you're somewhere in Atlanta. I have people looking. And when they find you, and they will, you'll wish you just signed in the papers. Marcus read it. He's escalating, getting desperate. How does he know I'm still in Atlanta? Because you didn't run far enough. Your passport wasn't used. No plane tickets. No hotel charges. That means you're local, probably with someone you trust or someone who doesn't know who you are. He doesn't know about you. Not yet, but he's smart. He'll figure it out eventually. Marcus closed the laptop, which is why we need to move faster. Grace, how quickly can you file if Dev gets everything by tomorrow? Grace's response came within minutes. I can work through the night. If Dev delivers by noon tomorrow, I can have everything filed by 6 p.m. Simultaneous drops to SEC, FBI, Georgia AG, and press. Christopher Kane won't know what hit him. 36 hours. Victoria just had to stay hidden for 36 more hours. The afternoon passed in strange domesticity. Victoria helped Emma with homework. Second-grade math problems that felt surreal in their simplicity. Marcus fixed the leaking sink he'd been meaning to repair for weeks. They ate sandwiches and apple slices and cookies that came from a bag, but tasted like they'd been made with care because they were shared with people who mattered. At 4:00 p.m., there was a knock on the door. Different from Grace's professional rap or Dev's military efficiency, this was hesitant, uncertain. Marcus checked the peephole and frowned. It's Brenda Cole, CPS. Victoria's blood went cold. Christopher, probably. Marcus turned to her. Bedroom, now, take Emma. Victoria grabbed Emma's hand and pulled her toward the bedroom as Marcus opened the door. Through the crack, Victoria could see a middle-aged black woman in a pantsuit carrying a clipboard and the kind of expression that said she'd seen too much and believed too little. Mr. Reed, I'm Brenda Cole, Child Protective Services. We received an anonymous report regarding your daughter's welfare. Marcus's voice stayed calm. What kind of report? Concerns about living conditions, supervision, and potentially unsafe individuals in the home. Brenda's voice was professional but not unkind. May I come in? Of course. Victoria watched through the crack as Brenda entered, eyes sweeping the apartment with practiced assessment. Clean but cramped. Bills visible on the table including overdue notices. One bedroom visible. Where did Marcus sleep? Where did the child sleep if there was only one bedroom? Is your daughter home? Emma's in her room. Would you like to speak with her? In a moment. First, I'd like to see the living conditions. Brenda walked through slowly, noting everything. The couch that doubled as Marcus's bed, the coffee table he'd built himself, Emma's drawings covering every wall, the kitchen that was small but spotless, the single bathroom with a tub that needed recalking but was clean. She opened the fridge. Food, not a lot, but enough. Milk, eggs, bread, fruits, vegetables, the essentials. Mr. Reed, how many people are living here? Two, me and Emma. No one else? Marcus's jaw clenched microscopically. I have a friend staying temporarily. She's recovering from an injury. This friend, where is she now? Resting. She has a broken ankle. Brenda made notes. Name? I'd prefer not to involve her in this. She's been through enough. Mr. Reed, if someone is living here, even temporarily, I need to know who they are and why they're here. It's relevant to your daughter's safety. Victoria made a decision. She opened the bedroom door and limped out, Emma's hand still in hers. I'm the friend. My name is Victoria Sterling. Brenda's eyes widened fractionally, recognition immediate. Victoria Sterling wasn't just any name. She was on the news. Missing CEO, billion-dollar company, conspiracy theories about mental breakdowns and corporate takeovers. Ms. Sterling, you're recovering from injuries sustained in an assault. Victoria's voice was steady despite her racing heart. Mr. Reed found me 3 days ago and provided emergency medical care and shelter. He quite possibly saved my life. Brenda's expression shifted through several emotions too quickly to track. I see. The anonymous report, Victoria continued, it came from my ex-fiancé, Christopher Kane. He's trying to intimidate Mr. Reed into giving me up. That's a serious accusation. I have evidence, emails, audio recordings, security footage, proof of embezzlement, conspiracy, and assault. Victoria met Brenda's eyes. I'm not mentally unstable. I'm not a danger to Emma. I'm a woman who discovered corporate fraud and was nearly killed for it. Brenda studied her for a long moment. Can you prove any of this? In 36 hours, the FBI will have everything they need to arrest Christopher Kane and 5 members of my board of directors. Until then, I need to stay hidden. Because if Christopher finds me before that evidence is filed, I might not survive a second time. Silence filled the apartment. Brenda looked from Victoria to Marcus to Emma, who was watching everything with her serious 8-year-old eyes. Emma, Brenda said gently, can we talk? Just you and me? Emma looked up at Victoria, then Marcus. Both nodded. She took Brenda's hand and they went into the bedroom, closing the door. Victoria sank onto the couch, legs shaking. She's going to take Emma. No, she's not, Marcus said with more confidence than Victoria felt. Emma will tell her the truth, that she's safe, that she's happy, that you've been nothing but kind. Through the door, they could hear Brenda's voice, gentle. Emma, do you feel safe here? Yes, ma'am, very safe. Tell me about Victoria. Mama V, she's wonderful. She draws with me and helps with homework, and she makes Daddy smile again. He hasn't smiled like that since Mama Emily died. Does Victoria ever make you feel scared or uncomfortable? No, she's like the missing piece we didn't know we needed. Like when you do a puzzle and you find that one piece that makes everything make sense. Silence, then Brenda's voice softer. You love her. She's my bonus mom. That means she's extra. Extra love, extra family, extra everything good. More silence. Victoria held her breath. The door opened. Brenda emerged, Emma holding her hand. Brenda's expression was unreadable. Mr. Reed, your home is adequate. Your daughter is well cared for, clearly loved, and not in any immediate danger. She paused. However, the presence of Miss Sterling does complicate matters. If she's truly in danger from her ex-fiancé, and if he's targeting you to get to her, then Emma could be caught in crossfire. Marcus started to speak. Brenda held up her hand. That said, removing Emma from a stable home where she's happy would cause more harm than the theoretical danger of staying. I'm not going to disrupt this child's life based on an anonymous report that was almost certainly made in bad faith. Victoria felt tears of relief. But, Brenda continued, looking directly at Marcus, I'm required to file a report. My supervisor will review it. If there are any further complications, any indication that Emma is at risk, we will revisit custody arrangements. Am I clear? Crystal, Marcus said. Marcus. Brenda turned to Victoria. Miss Sterling, I hope your evidence is as solid as you say, because if Christopher Kane made this report, He's not going to stop with CPS. He'll escalate. I know. Then I suggest you stay very well hidden for the next 36 hours. She gathered her clipboard. Emma, take care of your daddy and your Mama V. I will. After Brenda left, the three of them stood in silence for a long moment. Then Emma threw her arms around Victoria's waist. See, I told you it would be okay. But Victoria knew better. Christopher had just shown his hand. He was coming after Marcus's family, and he wouldn't stop until someone stopped him. That night, after Emma was asleep, Marcus and Victoria sat on the small balcony watching Atlanta's lights glitter against the darkness. The city spread out below them like possibilities and threats mixed together into one uncertain future. He knows, Victoria said quietly. Christopher knows I'm here. Or he suspects. Otherwise, why call CPS? He's fishing, trying to flush you out by threatening the people around you. Marcus's voice was calm, but his hands were clenched. It's a smart play. He knows you're not the type to let innocent people suffer for you. I should leave. Tonight. Before he hurts you or Emma. No. Marcus, no, he repeated, voice firm. We're 36 hours from ending this. You run now, he wins. You run now, we lose everything we've worked for. And he gets away with it. Again. But Emma is my daughter and my responsibility. And I'm telling you, the best way to protect her is to see this through. To make sure Christopher Kane goes to prison for what he did. He turned to face her. Do you trust me? Victoria met his eyes in the darkness. Yes. Then trust me when I say we're going to win this, together. She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him so badly. But fear had been her companion for longer than hope, and fear was very good at making reasonable arguments. What if we don't win? What if Christopher's lawyers are better? What if the evidence isn't enough? Then we tried, Marcus said simply. We stood up instead of rolling over. We fought instead of running. And at least Emma will know that when someone needed help, we didn't walk away. That's a very idealistic view. It's a Marine view. You don't leave people behind. You don't surrender when things get hard. You complete the mission or you die trying. Victoria's throat tightened. I don't want you to die for me. I'm not planning on dying. His voice softened. I'm planning on living. Really living. Maybe for the first time since Emily died. And you're part of that now, whether either of us planned it or not. The words hung between them, heavy with meanings neither was quite ready to acknowledge. Victoria's hand found his on the railing, rough, calloused, warm, real in a way nothing in her old life had ever been real. 36 hours, she whispered. 36 hours, he agreed, and then we change everything. They sat there until the cold drove them inside, holding hands like teenagers who'd discovered something precious and terrifying and couldn't quite bring themselves to let go. The next morning arrived with urgency crackling in the air like static before a storm. Dev's email came at 7 o'clock a.m. sharp. Final evidence packet ready for delivery. Everything you need. Security footage, bank records, complete email chains, audio files, the works. Grace, you're up. Grace's response was immediate. Received. Beginning final document preparation. Target filing time, 6 o'clock p.m. today. Everyone stay exactly where you are and do exactly nothing that could compromise this. 24 hours early, they were going to finish this a full day ahead of schedule. Victoria should have felt relieved. Instead, dread settled into her stomach like swallowed stones. When things went too smoothly, that's usually when they fell apart. Marcus was making breakfast, actual successful pancakes this time, when Victoria's phone rang. Unknown number, she almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello? Victoria, darling. Christopher's voice, booth as poisoned honey. We need to talk. Her blood went cold. Marcus saw her expression and immediately crossed the room. I have nothing to say to you. Oh, I think you do. See, I know where you are. Well, I know the general area. Vine City. Interesting choice, very working class of you. Victoria's hand shook. What do you want? What I've always wanted, the company, the money, everything your father built that should have been mine. His voice hardened. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to meet me at Sterling Technologies today at noon. You're going to sign the transfer documents. And you're going to tell your little electrician friend that this was all a misunderstanding. And if I don't, then I make a phone call to some friends in the Atlanta Police Department, friends who owe me favors. And suddenly, Mr. Marcus Reed has outstanding warrants for assault, kidnapping, and harboring a fugitive. His daughter Emma gets placed in foster care while he fights charges that will bankrupt him even if he wins. Victoria's vision went white at the edges. You wouldn't. Try me. Pause. Noon, Victoria. Sterling Technologies. Don't be late. The line went dead. Marcus had heard enough. Call Grace, now. Victoria dialed with shaking hands. Grace answered on the first ring. What happened? Christopher knows. He's threatening Marcus and Emma. He wants me at the office at noon. Absolutely not. That's a trap. He said he'll have Marcus arrested, have Emma taken into foster care. Grace's voice went hard. Empty threats. He's desperate, and he knows we're close. Don't you dare go to that office. But what if he actually does it? What if he ruins Marcus's life? Then I defend Marcus with the best legal team money can buy. But Victoria, if you go to that office, Christopher wins. You sign those papers under duress, he files them immediately, and by the time we prove coercion, he's liquidated half the company and vanished to somewhere without an extradition treaty. Marcus took the phone. Grace, it's me. What are the odds Christopher can actually make good on his threats? Low but not zero. He might know corrupt cops, might be able to generate false warrants, but that takes time. Hours at minimum, more likely days. And in 11 hours, I'm filing everything simultaneously. The moment those documents hit the SEC, FBI, and AG's office, Christopher Kane stops being a threat and starts being a defendant. So we wait, Marcus said. You wait. You stay exactly where you are. You do not go to that office. And in 11 hours, this is over. After they hung up, Victoria sank onto the couch. I can't let him hurt you. He's not going to hurt us. He's trying to scare you into doing something stupid. What if he does call the police? What if they do arrest you? Then I get arrested. I've been arrested before. It's uncomfortable, but survivable. He knelt in front of her. But if you go to that office, if you sign those papers, then Christopher wins. And every hour I spent helping you, every risk we took, every piece of evidence Dev found, all of it means nothing. But Emma, Emma will be fine. Mrs. Chen next door has custody paperwork in case of emergency. Grace has my lawyer on speed dial. We've planned for this. Victoria stared at him. You've planned for your own arrest? I've planned for every possibility, because that's what you do when you're responsible for someone you love. The words landed between them with unexpected weight. Someone you love. Was he talking about Emma or about... The moment broke when Emma appeared in pajamas. Why is everyone talking so serious? Marcus stood quickly. Just grown-up stuff, baby girl. Nothing for you to worry about. But Emma's wise eyes saw through the lie. She walked to Victoria and climbed into her lap carefully, mindful of the ankle. Is the bad man trying to hurt us? Victoria couldn't lie to her. He's trying to scare us. Are you scared? Yes. Me too, but Daddy says being scared is okay as long as you don't let it stop you from doing what's right. This 8-year-old child teaching Victoria lessons she should have learned decades ago. Victoria held her close. You're right. Being scared is okay. And we're all scared together, so that makes it less scary. The morning crawled by like wounded time. Victoria watched the clock. 9 o'clock a.m., 10 o'clock a.m., 11 a.m. Each hour that passed brought them closer to safety, but also closer to whatever Christopher might do out of desperation. At 11:30, Victoria's phone rang again. She didn't recognize the number, but something made her answer. Ms. Sterling, this is Detective Sarah Mills, Atlanta PD. I need you to come to the station to answer some questions regarding a kidnapping report. Victoria's stomach dropped. What? Christopher Kane filed a report claiming you're being held against your will by Marcus Reed. We need to verify your status. Marcus was listening. He shook his head sharply. No. Detective, I'm not being held against my will. I'm staying with Mr. Reed voluntarily because I was assaulted and he provided emergency medical care. I understand, ma'am, but we still need you to come in and make a statement. Can it wait until tomorrow? I have evidence I'm filing today that will explain everything. Pause. What kind of evidence? Evidence of corporate fraud, embezzlement, and assault. I'm working with attorneys to file with federal agencies this evening. Longer pause. Miss Sterling, if you're in danger, I'm not in danger from Marcus Reed. I'm in danger from Christopher Kane. And in a few hours, you'll have all the evidence you need to arrest him instead of harassing the man who saved my life. Ma'am, I need to verify your safety. If you don't come in voluntarily, I'll have to send officers to bring you in. Victoria's hand clenched around the phone. This was it. Christopher's play. Force her out of hiding by making the police come get her. Once she was in police custody, he'd find a way to get to her. A lawyer with the right argument. A judge who owed favors. Something. Give me the address. I'll come in. Marcus grabbed her wrist. No. Victoria covered the phone. If I don't, they'll come here. They'll see Emma. It'll be worse. Victoria. I have to. She removed his hand gently. Into the phone. I'll be there in 30 minutes. She hung up. Marcus stood there looking like she'd physically struck him. You promised we'd do this together. I'm doing this together. I'm keeping you and Emma safe while we wait for Grace to file. The moment those documents are filed, Christopher loses all his power. He could have you killed in police custody, make it look like suicide. He's desperate enough. Then I'll be careful, but I can't let the police show up here. Emma's been through enough. Marcus's jaw worked. Finally, I'm coming with you. No, I'm coming with you, Waddy repeated, voice allowing no argument. Mrs. Chen watches Emma. You and I go to the police station together. We give our statements together, and we wait there until 6 p.m. when Grace files everything. It wasn't a perfect plan, but it was better than Victoria going alone. Emma hugged them both goodbye with the seriousness of someone who understood this might be important. Be brave and come back soon. We will, baby girl, Marcus promised. As they walked to his truck, Victoria's phone buzzed one more time. Text from Christopher. See you soon, darling. The police station loomed ahead like a fortress built from bureaucracy and broken promises. And somewhere inside, Christopher Kane was waiting. The Atlanta Police Department's 5th Precinct occupied a building that had given up trying to look welcoming sometime during the Reagan administration. Gray concrete, small windows that let in suspicion, but not much light. The kind of place where hope came to fill out paperwork and leave disappointed. Marcus pulled his truck into the visitor lot at exactly 12:07 p.m. 7 minutes late, a small rebellion against Christopher's control, a reminder that they were choosing to be here, not being forced. Victoria's phone showed 17 missed calls from Christopher. She ignored all of them. We go in together, Marcus said, not for the first time. We tell the truth. We don't volunteer information, but we don't lie. And the moment Grace files those documents, Christopher Kane stops being a threat and starts being a defendant in federal court. 5 hours and 53 minutes, Victoria said quietly. 5 hours and 53 minutes. They walked through doors that closed behind them with the finality of traps springing shut. The lobby smelled like industrial cleaner, fighting a losing battle against desperation and stale coffee. A desk sergeant looked up, older black man with eyes that had seen too much and stopped being surprised by anything. Help you? Detective Sarah Mills called us in, Marcus said. Victoria Sterling and Marcus Reed. The sergeant's eyes flickered with recognition. Have a seat. Detective Mills will be with you shortly. Shortly turned into 20 minutes. Victoria watched the clock on the wall tick forward with the rhythm of a countdown she couldn't stop. 12:30 p.m. 5.5 hours until Grace filed everything. A door opened. Woman in her early 40s, detective's shield clipped to her belt. Expression that balanced skepticism with genuine concern, walked toward them. Miss Sterling? Mr. Reed? I'm Detective Mills. Thank you for coming in. She led them down a hallway that seemed designed to make people feel guilty, even if they hadn't done anything wrong. Small interview room, table bolted to the floor. Chairs that weren't quite uncomfortable enough to be illegal, but weren't anywhere close to pleasant. Detective Mills sat across from them, notepad open. Ms. Sterling, Christopher Kane filed a missing persons report 3 days ago claiming you disappeared after exhibiting signs of mental distress. He's concerned for your safety. Victoria's laugh came out harsh. He's concerned about controlling me. There's a difference. Can you explain what happened 3 days ago? So Victoria explained. The email she'd found, the conspiracy stretching back 3 years, the emergency board meeting where she'd been given an ultimatum, the fall down the stairs that broke her ankle, Christopher's men hunting her through the rain. Detective Mills took notes, expression neutral. Do you have evidence of any of this? Yes, emails, audio recordings, bank records, security footage, everything. Where is this evidence now? With my attorney, Grace Morrison. She's filing it with federal agencies today at 6 p.m. Mills's pen paused. Federal agencies? SEC, FBI, Georgia Attorney General, all simultaneously. Victoria leaned forward. Detective Christopher Kane has embezzled $47 million over 3 years. He's conspired with board members to steal my company. He pushed me down a flight of stairs. And now he's using the police to try to force me out of hiding so he can finish what he started. That's a serious accusation. It's a provable accusation. In 5.5 hours, you'll have access to evidence that will make everything I'm saying undeniable. Mills turned to Marcus. Mr. Reed, what's your involvement? I found Ms. Sterling on Martin Luther King Jr. Drive 3 nights ago. She was injured, being pursued by Christopher Kane and his security team. I provided emergency medical care and shelter. You're a medical professional? Former Navy corpsman, I have the training. Why didn't you take her to a hospital? Because she asked me not to. Because she was terrified Kane would find her there. Marcus's voice stayed calm. I made a judgment call that her immediate safety was more important than following standard protocols. And Ms. Sterling has been staying with you since then? Yes. You live with your daughter, 8 years old. Marcus's jaw tightened fractionally. My daughter has been nothing but safe. Victoria has been kind to her. No one has been in danger except from Christopher Kane. Mills studied them both for a long moment. I need to be honest with you. This situation looks bad from a legal perspective. Injured woman, no hospital visit, staying with a stranger. If Mr. Kane wanted to push charges of kidnapping or unlawful imprisonment, he'd have grounds. Victoria started to speak. Mills held up a hand. However, I've been a detective for 18 years. I've seen genuine victims, and I've seen people playing victim. Ms. Sterling, you don't strike me as someone being held against your will. She closed her notepad. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to stay here until your attorney files whatever evidence she has. If it's as solid as you claim, this becomes a federal case and way above my pay grade. If it's not, it is, Victoria said with certainty. Then I suggest you both get comfortable. It's going to be a long afternoon. She left them in the interview room. The door wasn't locked, but it might as well have been. Leaving meant exposing themselves to whatever Christopher had planned. Staying meant waiting in a box that felt smaller with every passing minute. 5 hours and 22 minutes, Marcus said. Victoria's phone buzzed. Text from Christopher. Enjoy your time with the police. I'll be filing additional charges within the hour. Obstruction of justice, destruction of company property, theft of confidential information. By the time I'm done, your electrician will be bankrupt defending himself. She showed Marcus. He barely glanced at it. Empty threats. He's panicking. What if they're not empty? Then we deal with it. But Victoria, we're past the point of no return. Either we see this through or we surrender. There's no middle ground. She knew he was right. Knowing didn't make the waiting easier. Time moved like an injured animal dragging itself towards somewhere safe. 1:00 p.m., 2:00 p.m. Victoria's phone kept buzzing. Christopher calling, texting, trying every method to get her to respond. She blocked his number. He called from different numbers. At 2:47 p.m., the door opened. Not Detective Mills. Christopher Kane stood there in a suit that cost more than Marcus's truck, flanked by 2 attorneys who probably charged more per hour than Marcus made in a week. Victoria, darling, there you are. Marcus stood immediately, placing himself between Christopher and Victoria. You need to leave. I'm here to see my fiancée. That's not a crime. Christopher's smile was all teeth and no warmth. Victoria, we need to talk, privately. Anything you want to say to her, you can say in front of me, Marcus said. Christopher's eyes raked over him with the contempt of someone who measured human worth in net value. And you are? The man who's been keeping her safe from you. How noble. Playing hero for a woman who's using you. Christopher looked past Marcus to Victoria. Did you tell him the truth? That the moment you get what you want, you'll go back to your world and forget he exists? That people like us don't end up with people like him? People like you, Victoria said, voice shaking with rage. Don't speak for me. I'm trying to help you. These lawyers can make everything go away. The investigation, the charges. You sign the documents. We call this a misunderstanding caused by stress, and everyone moves on with their lives. The documents that steal my company. The documents that properly value both our contributions to a merger that should have happened when our fathers were alive. Christopher stepped closer, ignoring Marcus's warning growl. Be reasonable, Victoria. You're not a CEO. You never were. Your father trained you, but you don't have the instincts, the ruthlessness, the willingness to do what's necessary. You're right. I don't have the willingness to embezzle $47 million. Christopher's mask slipped for half a second. You can't prove that. I can prove all of it. Emails, bank records, audio recordings, security footage of you and Richard physically destroying evidence. Victoria stood, leaning on Marcus for support. In 3 hours, the FBI is going to have everything, and you're going to prison. You're bluffing. Try me. Christopher studied her face, searching for the weakness he had always been able to find and exploit. This time he found nothing but resolve backed by fury. You'll regret this, he said quietly. Both of you. One of his attorneys touched his arm. Mr. Kane, we should go. They left. The door closed. Victoria's legs gave out. Marcus caught her before she hit the floor. I've got you. He's going to do something. I can see it. He's too calm, too confident. Let him. We're 3 hours and 13 minutes from checkmate. Detective Mills appeared minutes later. I'm going to need you both to stay here, for your protection as much as anything. Things are about to get complicated. What do you mean? Christopher Kane is in the building filing additional charges. Harassment, defamation. He's throwing everything at the wall, hoping something sticks long enough to keep you occupied while he does. She paused. While he does whatever he's actually planning. Marcus's phone buzzed. Text from Mrs. Chen. 3 men came to apartment asking for you. I told them you're not home. They're watching the building. Emma is scared. Ice flooded Marcus's veins. He sent people after Emma. What? Victoria grabbed the phone, read the message. Oh God, Marcus, we have to stay here, Detective Mills ordered. If you leave, you're exposed. If he's watching your building, he's hoping to flush you out. My daughter is terrified, and she's safe with Mrs. Chen. The moment you show up, you give Christopher exactly what he wants. Mills pulled out her phone. I'm sending a patrol car to your building. Officers will secure the area and make sure your daughter stays safe. But you need to trust me and stay put. Marcus's hands shook with the need to move, to do something, to protect the person who mattered most. Victoria took his hand. She's right. If we run now, we lose everything. That's my daughter. I know, but she's safe. Christopher wants us exposed. We can't give him that. Every instinct Marcus had screamed at him to leave, to get to Emma, to put his body between her and any possible threat. But Victoria was right, and Mills was right. Running now meant losing. 2 hours and 47 minutes, he said through clenched teeth. At 4:00 p.m., Grace's text arrived. Documents finalized, making copies for simultaneous filing. On schedule for 6:00 p.m. delivery. Stay where you are, almost done. At 4:30 p.m., Dev sent a message. Security footage shows Christopher's car leaving Sterling Tech headquarters, heading unknown. Everyone stay alert. At 4:45 p.m., Christopher called Victoria from yet another number. This time she answered on speaker. Last chance, Victoria. Meet me at the office, sign the papers, or people you care about start suffering consequences. Threatening people is a crime, Christopher. I'm not threatening. I'm explaining cause and effect. You're making choices that impact others. That's not my fault. In 75 minutes, your life as you know it ends. We'll see. He hung up. The silence afterward felt heavier than sound. Victoria checked her phone obsessively. Marcus stared at the wall with the focus of someone using willpower to prevent himself from running. Detective Mills came in and out, updating them on patrol status at Marcus's building. Officers on scene, area secure, Emma safe inside with Mrs. Chen. At 5:30 p.m., Grace's text. 30 minutes. Documents ready for delivery. Are you both safe? Marcus replied, we're at 5th Precinct, both secure. Emma safe with NAOBR and patrol units. Grace, perfect. I'm walking documents to FBI field office now. CC and AG filings will be submitted electronically at exactly 6:00 by p.m. Press packets go out simultaneously. This is happening. Victoria couldn't sit still anymore. She paced the small room despite her ankle, adrenaline overriding pain. Marcus watched her with understanding. The waiting was worse than the fighting. At least in a fight, you could do something. At 5:47 p.m., Victoria's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Something made her pick up. Ms. Sterling? Woman's voice. Professional. Slightly breathless. Yes? This is Margaret Chen, from your board of directors. Victoria went still. Margaret Chen, oldest board member, her father's friend, the one who'd always seemed uncomfortable with Christopher's schemes but never quite found the courage to speak up. Margaret? I'm at Sterling Technologies headquarters. Christopher called an emergency board meeting for 6 p.m. He's pushing through the transfer documents claiming you have been declared mentally incompetent and he has medical authority to sign on your behalf. Victoria's blood went cold. He can't do that without... He forged the psychiatric evaluation. Dr. Harrison's signature. Everything looks legitimate unless you examine it closely. Margaret's voice shook. If the board votes and Christopher signs those documents before your evidence goes public, the transfer might be legally binding regardless of the fraud. Possession is 9/10 of the law, and corporate law favors existing signatures over later investigations. Marcus was already moving. Where's Sterling Tech headquarters? Downtown. 15 minutes from here. We have 13 minutes until Grace files. Victoria grabbed his arm. If we leave, Christopher wins. We stay, we lose the company, but he goes to prison. No, Marcus's voice was certain. We go. We stop him from signing anything. And we hold him there until 6 p.m. when the whole world knows what he did. Detective Mills appeared in the doorway. I heard. I'm coming with you. This stays legal. They ran. Marcus's truck tore through Atlanta traffic like every second mattered because every second did. Detective Mills in the passenger seat, radio crackling with updates. Victoria in the back, calling Grace. Grace, Christopher's trying to force through the transfer documents before your filing. He can't. The evidence won't matter if he gets legal signatures before it's public. Margaret says he's forging psychiatric evaluations. Grace's voice went hard. Get there. Stop him. I'm accelerating everything. Filing starts at 8:55. That gives you 8 minutes. We'll make it. They made it in 6. Sterling Technologies Tower loomed 40 stories of glass and steel and corporate ambition. Marcus screeched into the loading dock. No time for proper parking. They ran for the elevators. Security guard. Ma'am, you can't. Detective Mills flashed her badge. Official police business. Which floor? 40, but the elevators require... Victoria placed her palm on the executive scanner. It blinked green. The elevator opened. They rode up in silence, broken only by Victoria's harsh breathing and Marcus's steady presence at her shoulder. The numbers climbed. 35, 36, 37. Time stretched and compressed simultaneously. Victoria's phone showed 5:54 p.m. The elevator opened directly into the executive floor. Through glass walls, Victoria could see the boardroom. 12 members seated. Christopher at the head of the table, her father's chair, holding documents. She burst through the doors. This meeting is over. 12 heads turned. Christopher smiled. Victoria, how unexpected. I'm afraid this is a closed board meeting, and as you're no longer mentally competent, I'm perfectly competent, and you're committing fraud. I have a psychiatric evaluation stating otherwise, signed by Dr. Harrison. It gives me medical power of attorney until you're deemed fit to resume duties. Dr. Harrison never examined me. He examined you 3 months ago. Regular corporate wellness check. His professional opinion is that recent stress has triggered a psychotic break requiring immediate intervention, and temporary removal of decision-making authority. Christopher held up documents. Everything is legal and properly executed. Margaret Chen stood. I won't vote for this. You already did. Last week. Emergency proxy vote via email. Don't you remember? Margaret's face went pale. I never. You did. I have your electronic signature and IP address. Christopher looked around the table. Everyone voted. The resolution passed 9-3. Victoria Sterling is temporarily removed as CEO due to mental incompetence. I'm appointed acting CEO with full authority. And my first act is to execute the merger documents that should have been signed 3 years ago. He placed the documents on the table and pulled out a pen. Don't sign those, Victoria said. Or what? You'll call the police? Christopher gestured at Detective Mills. There's an officer right there. I'm not doing anything illegal. I'm following proper corporate procedure to protect a company from a CEO who's having a breakdown. Victoria's phone showed 5:56 p.m. 4 minutes. She needed to stall for 4 more minutes. You're wrong about one thing, she said, moving closer to the table. I'm not having a breakdown. I'm very clear-headed, clear enough to know you've been embezzling from this company for 3 years. Baseless accusations. I have proof, emails, bank records, audio recordings, security footage. She looked at the board members. He's stolen $47 million, funneled it through shell companies to offshore accounts, and he planned to blame me for it after I signed the merger documents. Some board members shifted uncomfortably. Christopher's smile never wavered. You have no proof. I have everything, and in 3 minutes, so will the FBI. That made him pause. Just for a second. You're bluffing. Am I? 3 minutes from now, my attorney files evidence with 3 federal agencies and 6 news outlets simultaneously. Evidence that will put you in prison for 20 years. Victoria checked her phone. 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Christopher's jaw clenched. He looked at his lawyers, both of whom were suddenly very interested in their phones. Even if that's true, I'll have signed these documents by then. Signed, witnessed, filed with the corporate registry. Legal transfer of controlling interest. Undoing it would take years of litigation. By that time, I'll have liquidated assets, paid myself massive compensation packages, and even if I end up in prison eventually, I'll be rich enough to buy a very comfortable cell. He put pen to paper. Marcus moved, 20 feet of distance, covered in under 2 seconds. Hand on Christopher's wrist before the pen could touch paper. Pressure applied with the precision of someone trained to subdue without causing permanent damage. Don't. Christopher tried to pull free. Couldn't. Get your hands off me. No, Detective Mills stepped forward. Mr. Kane, I'm going to need you to step away from those documents. On what grounds? I'm not committing a crime. On the grounds that I have reasonable suspicion you're about to commit fraud, and that gives me authority to prevent it. This is corporate business. You have no jurisdiction. I have jurisdiction over suspected criminal activity. And Mrs. Sterling has made credible allegations that your psychiatric evaluation is forged, your proxy votes are falsified, and your merger documents are based on embezzlement proceeds. Mills pulled out handcuffs. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to step away from that table, you're going to come with me, and we're going to wait very patiently for the next, she checked her watch, 90 seconds until federal evidence either supports Ms. Sterling's claims or doesn't. Christopher's face went red with fury. You can't arrest me? I haven't done anything. I'm not arresting you. I'm detaining you for questioning. Big difference. She cuffed him. Christopher struggled, shouting about lawyers and wrongful detention and police harassment. 2 of his attorneys tried to intervene. Mills called for backup. 3 uniforms arrived within a minute, summoned from lobby security. Victoria's phone showed 5:59 p.m. 60 seconds. The boardroom had gone completely silent. Everyone watching, waiting. Christopher stopped struggling. His face went cold. You think you've won. You haven't. Even if your evidence is real, even if I go to prison, you've destroyed this company's reputation. Stock will crash, investors will flee, customers will cancel contracts. You're burning down your father's legacy just to hurt me. No, Victoria said quietly. I'm saving it from you. 5:59:45, 30 seconds. Victoria pulled out her phone, opened her email. Refreshed. Nothing yet. 20 seconds. 15. 6:00 p.m. Her email refreshed. 7 messages arrived simultaneously. SEC. Filing received. Sterling Technologies investigation. Case number 2024-8847. FBI. Evidence received. Federal case number ATL 243392. Georgia. AG. Complaint filed. State case number CR 2494. Wall Street Journal. Article posted. Sterling Technologies CEO exposes massive fraud. Scene. Breaking news alert. Billion-dollar tech company scandal. Atlanta Journal. Constitution. Investigation launched. Sterling Tech embezzlement. Grace's text. Done. All agencies notified. Press releases live. Christopher Kane is officially a federal defendant. Get somewhere safe and let the system work. Victoria looked up. Christopher was staring at his own phone. Emails from his lawyers, his board members, his contacts, all coming in at once. His face went from red to white to gray. What did you do? I told the truth. Victoria turned to the board. Everything Christopher Kane just tried to do is now evidence of additional crimes: attempted fraud, forgery, falsification of corporate records. Every signature he tried to get tonight adds years to his sentence. Margaret Chen stood. I moved to immediately suspend Christopher Kane from all positions and authorities within Sterling Technologies pending investigation. Second, another board member said immediately. All in favor? 9 hands rose. Only Christopher's closest allies abstained. Motion carries. Mr. Kane, you are hereby suspended without pay or benefits. Security will escort you from the building. Christopher stared at Victoria with hatred that could have melted steel. This isn't over. Yes, she said, it is. Security took him away, still handcuffed, still shouting about lawyers and vengeance and how he'd make everyone pay. His voice faded down the hallway until silence returned. Victoria sank into the nearest chair, leg finally giving out completely. Marcus was at her side immediately. You okay? I think so. I don't know. Is it really over? Detective Mills nodded. Federal investigators will be here within the hour. They'll want statements from everyone. This is officially their case now. My part is done. She offered her hand to Victoria. You did good. Standing up to someone with that much power takes courage most people don't have. I had help. Victoria looked at Marcus. A lot of help. The next 72 hours blurred into controlled chaos. Federal agents descended on Sterling Technologies like a task force designed to dismantle corruption piece by piece. Victoria gave testimony for 6 straight hours, walking investigators through every email, every transaction, every moment of Christopher's 3-year conspiracy. Marcus stayed close throughout, a steady presence when exhaustion threatened to pull her under. Emma remained with Mrs. Chen, drawing pictures of superheroes defeating dragons while patrol units kept watch on the building. By Wednesday morning, the evidence was so overwhelming that Christopher's lawyers stopped fighting and started negotiating plea deals. By Friday, the FBI had frozen all offshore accounts totaling $47 million. By the following Monday, the board voted unanimously to install Margaret Chen as interim CEO. Victoria attended that meeting, her last as active CEO. She announced her resignation to applause from 8 of the 12 members. The 4 who'd been complicit had already resigned under pressure from federal prosecutors. I'm stepping down, Victoria said, voice steady despite the cameras recording every word. Not because I'm defeated, but because I'm choosing something better. I'm choosing life over empire, family over fortune, and I'm going to spend the rest of my days helping other women make the same choice. Margaret stood and embraced her. Your mother would be so proud. Victoria felt tears prick her eyes. I hope so. She walked out of Sterling Technologies for the last time as CEO, leaving behind the glass tower and corner office and everything her father had built. She left behind the version of herself who'd believed success meant sacrificing humanity. And she walked towards something infinitely more valuable. Marcus was waiting by his truck in the parking lot. Emma sat in the back seat, waving enthusiastically through the window. Justice, the German shepherd puppy they'd adopted 3 weeks ago, had his head out the other window, tongue lolling in pure canine joy. "Ready?" Marcus asked. Victoria looked back at the building one last time. 40 stories of her former life, reaching toward a sky she'd stopped noticing years ago. "Ready," she said. They drove to the small house they'd moved into 2 months ago. 3 bedrooms, a yard, space for Emma to run and Justice to patrol, and Victoria to finally breathe without feeling like every breath cost something. Phoenix Rising had opened its doors 4 weeks after Christopher's arrest. A small office in a renovated building in Vine City. 3 rooms, 6 staff members. A mission to help women escape abusive relationships, corporate or personal. The first month they helped 12 women, the second month 28. By the 6-month mark, they'd assisted 47 women in rebuilding their lives. Marcus's electrical business, Washington Electrical Services LLC, had grown from a one-man operation to a team of 4. Commercial contracts, fair wages, a reputation for honest work at honest prices. They worked hard. They laughed often. They built something neither had expected to find. Family. 6 months and 3 days after the night Victoria fell in front of Marcus's truck, they stood at that same intersection. All 3 of them, plus Justice, who took his role as family guardian very seriously. Emma had insisted they return here, the place where everything began. "This is where you fell, Mama V," Emma said, pointing at the exact spot. "This is where I fell," Victoria agreed, "and where Daddy caught you." "Where I caught her," Marcus confirmed, "and where everything changed." Everything changed. Rain began to fall, gentle this time, the kind that washed things clean instead of drowning them. Emma pulled a rolled-up piece of paper from her backpack. "I made something for today." She unrolled it, a drawing showing this exact moment. 3 people holding hands at an intersection, rain falling, a dog beside them, a rainbow overhead, despite the rain, because Emma believed rainbows could happen anywhere if you looked hard enough. At the bottom, in careful 8-year-old printing, "The day our family started, the day Mama Vi fell and Daddy caught her and we all found each other. The best day ever." Victoria wiped tears from her cheeks. "It is the best day ever." "Was," Emma corrected. "Was the best day ever. This is better, because now we know how it ends." "How does it end?" Marcus asked, though he already knew. Emma looked at both of them like they were being deliberately dense. "Happily, it ends happily, with love and family and home." She wasn't wrong. That night, after Emma was asleep in her room with Justice curled protectively at the foot of her bed, Marcus and Victoria sat on their back porch watching fireflies perform their small magic against the darkness. "She's right, you know," Victoria said. "It did end happily. It hasn't ended. It's just beginning." Semantics. Marcus pulled a small box from his pocket. Victoria's breath caught. "I was going to plan something elaborate. Restaurant, music, the whole romantic production. But I realized that's not us." He opened the box. Simple silver band with 3 small stones, sapphire, rose quartz, clear crystal. "Blue for me, pink for Emma, white for you, stronger together than we ever were apart." Victoria couldn't speak through the tears. "Victoria Sterling, you fell into my life when I'd given up on finding anything except survival. You reminded me what it means to really live. You gave Emma a mother who teaches her that being brave means being real. You gave me a partner who chose love over everything the world said mattered." His voice shook slightly. "Will you marry me?" "Yes." The word came out as half laugh, half sob. "Yes, yes, absolutely yes." He slipped the ring onto her finger. Perfect fit, like it had been waiting there all along. They kissed under stars that had witnessed a billion love stories and decided this one was worth shining a little brighter for. Inside, Emma stirred in her sleep. Justice lifted his head, checked that everyone was safe, and settled back down with a contented sigh. The house that wasn't fancy but was filled with love creaked in the gentle way old houses do when they're content. And somewhere in federal prison, Christopher Kane was learning that money couldn't buy freedom, power couldn't rewrite history, and justice, though sometimes delayed, eventually arrived with devastating finality. He'd been sentenced to 18 years. Richard Townsend got 14, Jennifer Marks got 8. Dr. Harrison lost his medical license and received 5 years for fraud. But that was their story. This was Victoria's. Three people who'd been broken in different ways, who'd found each other on a rainy Atlanta night, who'd chosen each other every single day since. Not because they had to, because they wanted to. Marcus had stopped his truck that night because it was the right thing to do. He stayed because he'd found something worth fighting for. And Victoria, who'd spent 34 years searching for home in penthouses and boardrooms and bank accounts, finally understood what she'd been missing. Home wasn't a place, it was people. Specifically, it was this electrician who could fight like a warrior and cook like someone's grandfather. This 8-year-old who saw the world not as it was, but as it should be. This dog who'd appointed himself family guardian with the seriousness of a Marine on watch. Home was burnt pancakes on Sunday mornings and homework battles on Tuesday nights, and Marcus's hand in hers when the world felt too heavy. Home was Emma's drawings covering every available surface, and Justice's protective presence and the certain knowledge that she was loved, not for what she owned, but for who she was. She'd walked away from a billion-dollar empire. She'd gained a kingdom, and she wouldn't change a single thing. The fireflies danced, the stars witnessed, the city hummed its endless song, and in a small house in Atlanta, Georgia, a family sat together in the darkness and felt nothing but light.